When a single mechanical failure can devastate an entire community's sporting ecosystem, you have to wonder, are we building our local economies on dangerously fragile foundations? The abrupt shutdown of Wings West Ice Arena has sent shockwaves through Kalamazoo's sports landscape, forcing difficult conversations about economic vulnerability and community priorities. After Greenleaf Hospitality announced that catastrophic ice plant damage would permanently close the facility on September 12th, local organizations are scrambling to preserve both their programs and the substantial economic activity they generate. But here's where it gets controversial. While officials paint an optimistic picture of seamless transitions, the reality might be far more complex than anyone wants to admit. Jane Ghosh, who leads Discover Kalamazoo as CEO, has been working overtime to reassure stakeholders that the community won't suffer long-term economic damage. According to her calculations, Wings Events Center will absorb approximately 90% of the displaced programming, including high-profile events like the Michigan High School Athletic Association Wrestling Championships and various statewide competitions. This temporary arrangement is scheduled to run until at least spring 2028, which Ghosh believes provides sufficient time for strategic planning. We're confident this timeline allows everyone to develop comprehensive solutions without experiencing financial hardship, she explained, though critics might question whether 3 years truly constitutes adequate preparation time. The economic stakes couldn't be higher. Discover Kalamazoo, functioning as the county's official convention and visitors bureau, relies heavily on partnerships with organizations like the Kalamazoo Optimist Hockey Association and the Greater Kalamazoo Skating Association. These groups don't just provide recreational opportunities. They're economic engines that draw thousands of tournament participants, families, and spectators who fill hotel rooms, pack restaurants, and browse local shops. And this is the part most people miss. The ripple effects extend far beyond the immediate sports community. Every visiting team represents dozens of families spending money on meals, gas, souvenirs, and accommodations. Every canceled or relocated tournament potentially means empty hotel rooms and reduced revenue for small business owners who depend on these regular influxes of visitors. Ghosh acknowledges the immediate challenges while maintaining her optimistic outlook. The short-term disruption is undeniable, but I genuinely believe Kalamazoo County's future remains exceptionally promising, she stated. Her strategy focuses on maintaining the region's appeal across multiple sectors: sports tourism, business travel, and leisure activities to support the broader network of restaurants, retail establishments, and cultural attractions. However, the long-term discussion raises uncomfortable questions that community leaders must address head-on. Ghosh emphasized the importance of inclusive planning. Success depends on bringing the right stakeholders to the table, thoroughly understanding community needs, evaluating all available options, and proceeding from there. But here's what nobody's saying out loud. What happens if the Wings Event Center can't truly handle 90% of the displaced programming? What if the temporary solution becomes permanent, leaving Kalamazoo with reduced capacity indefinitely? And perhaps most critically, what does this crisis reveal about the community's preparedness for similar infrastructure failures? The closure also highlights a broader debate about public versus private responsibility for community sports infrastructure. Should local governments have contingency plans for when private facilities fail? Or is it reasonable to expect the free market to provide adequate solutions? As Kalamazoo navigates this transition, the community faces fundamental questions about resilience, planning, and priorities. The outcome will likely influence how other communities approach similar challenges and could set precedents for public-private partnerships in recreational infrastructure. What do you think? Is 3 years really enough time to develop sustainable long-term solutions? Or are community leaders being overly optimistic about the timeline? Should taxpayers bear responsibility for ensuring backup facilities exist? Or is this purely a private sector concern? Share your thoughts. This debate affects every community that depends on sports tourism for economic vitality.